Hey, on my Travel Ones podcast today, I'm lucky to have Megan Driscoll. How are you today, Megan?
Good. How are you doing?
Excellent. It's a wonderful Monday, so all good today.
It's a good Monday.
As the founder and CEO of EvolveMKD, I love that company name, actually.
Thank you. It was actually it took a long time to name the company. It was the hardest thing I've done so far.
You're like, well, I was in the same boat, actually. Like, I don't know what to call it.
Yeah, it's hard.
Like, I just want to work. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
EvolveMKD is a public relations social media agency. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I'm going to use a term I've never in my life used before. Your boutique firm is part of a prestige beauty industry.
So we have clients that are in prestige and mass beauty, which prestige is basically means expensive beauty. That's their way of saying it. And then we do a fair amount in aesthetics and dermatology, healthcare, and lifestyle. We started working with Austin Cocktails and the Plaza Hotel. So it's a nice mix of clients, and it definitely makes every day exciting.
How would you even get started or involved with prestige beauty?
Well, for me personally, it started accidentally. My background, actually, when I started in public relations, was in like true healthcare, pharma, and biotech. And then basically I took a job. I think I was like 25. I took a job, and I think truly the agency was a little short-staffed on a couple of accounts. So I think they realized I was, I had a brain and could kind of jump in and figure things out. So I ended up being staffed on a couple of skincare accounts and a few aesthetic accounts, and fell in love. So and here we are.
How much traveling do you do for public relations?
So my situation is probably a little bit different than other PR folks. I think being the owner of the agency and just the kind of clients that I've always found myself working with, they really enjoy FaceTime, and they enjoy, we do a lot of kind of strategy meetings and a lot of planning. And so for that, it's really just important to be in person. So usually I end up traveling at a minimum like 2-3 times a month. I do a lot of West Coast travel. To be honest with you, I actually like to travel. It kind of breaks up the week a little bit. When I was growing up, I never wanted a job that was routine. So I definitely chose the right industry because every day is dramatically different. And when you factor in travel to that, it makes it even more different.
I'm the same way. I mean, some people are geared for office work, and some people are not.
Yes.
And then there's the balance.
For sure. And I love being in the office because I love my team and I love the energy that we have going on in the office. But I think it's also nice to get to see where your clients are working and what the energy in their office is like, because those are the kinds of things you just can't get on the phone. And I think as much as our world is we're so digitally focused now and so like digitally connected, I actually think that makes the in-person time that much more important to the relationship.
See, and maybe it's just because that's the type of sales I do as well. Doing things in person is just so much better for me. Instead of because I could do a lot of my work over email or FaceTime and video conferencing, but there's so much you pick up when you're there in person.
I agree. I think, I even think with staff here, we have a longtime staff member that actually works remote. And I think the reason that it worked is because she was with us in person for like the first 2.5 years of the company's existence. So we kind of all got to know her really well. So now her being remote, is fine. But I think it would be hard for a teammate to always start that way. Like, I think there are things you pick up in terms of like body language, mannerisms, facial expressions, just being able to like dig into a problem with someone, those like hallway conversations that I think it's hard to have that when you're not in person.
Exactly. When you have to travel for work, are you a get in and get out person, or do you ever spend some extra time to see the sites?
So it really depends. It depends on where I'm going, and it also depends on kind of what's happening. If I'm traveling internationally, which I used to do quite a bit for work, I almost always add time, because I think one of the saddest thing about traveling internationally for work is usually you get to the airport and then you see the inside of a conference room and that's it. Yep. And to be in great places like Tokyo or Taiwan or South Korea and not see a little bit of the history and the culture and get out of the conference room would be a huge miss, especially because it takes so long to get there. So all of my international trips, obviously if work permits it, like if I can do it with my schedule, I always add on a day or two. The West Coast trips, I've started adding on a day or two and trying. I used to like fly in the morning and do the red eye home. Whether it's just I'm getting old and I can't do that anymore, or what. But I am definitely much better adding some time and getting like a good night's sleep and not like killing myself. And that's also one of the things I would say that's probably a little bit different about me with business travel. Like obviously we're a startup, so we're always watching our expenses and we're trying not to, margins are really important here and even in all of that. But I think one of the mistakes that entrepreneurs make is that you kind of cut costs and travel cheap. And I think that just does such a hardship on your body and your mind that then you don't show up your best for the work you're doing or for the meeting you're going to be in, or even the best when you get home for your family. So that's one of the things that my team and I, obviously we try to balance it, but one of the things we always try to do is make sure we're sleeping, we're staying in a hotel that we feel comfortable in. We try to not take red eyes if we can absolutely avoid it, make sure we're sleeping. So that's one of the things that I think we do pretty well here.
That's so interesting because I've worked for many, many companies that don't believe in that, obviously. It's taking the red eye to Toronto, pick you up at 6 a.m., drive you straight to the warehouse, factory, whatever, do meetings, work, lunch, and more meetings, company dinner, then you get to sleep. And you're like, oh, my God. Like, I don't even remember the second half of the day because I was so wiped out from not sleeping on the plane.
I just don't believe. I mean, look, sometimes you can't help that, right? You just and I certainly, this week, I have to go from Salt Lake and turn around and go to Pennsylvania. And it's just so, sometimes it just happens that way. But I think if you have a little bit of control, that's not the best way to do it, because I do think that you're not, the client or the person you're meeting with isn't getting their best version of you. And especially when there's jet lag, right, taken into consideration. And I personally think that the hardest time change is the East to West Coast. Those 3 hours for some reason are killer. I find going to Europe or Asia much easier. The coming home is obviously a different story, but being there, those 3 hours are tough.
See, I don't know. For me, it's like when I had to go back east, they say, hey, okay, we're going to start the day at 8 a.m. Well, that's 5 a.m. to me.
Yes, I know. It's funny. I always remind the team here about that too, because I think if you've never traveled for work, it's just you just don't realize how hard it is and how much of a beating your body and your mind take. So I always tell the team to think about where people are or where they've come in from, because it's true. We have West Coast clients that got in at 10 p.m. to New York the night before. They absolutely do not want to have a 9 a.m. meeting. That's terrible.
Right. Well, even just going to sleep, I've arrived the night before, but you're trying to go to bed at midnight, which is only 9 to your body.
Yep, exactly.
And you're like, I'm wide awake. It's midnight. Okay, I'm wide awake. It's 1 o'clock. I need to go to bed. I need to get up and work in 6 hours. So that is a part of the hard part. Do you use any apps or any travel guides when you're traveling?
So I use MyFitnessPal because I like to keep an update, just to make sure I'm walking, especially if I've been in a multi-meeting, and just make sure I'm getting up and things like that. I mean, I'm a pretty religious exerciser, so I'm fortunate enough that when I travel, the places I travel to, I tend to group fitness because I can make an appointment and schedule it, and I keep it. Then I can plan around it. So I do various boot camp or Soul Cycle a lot on the road, and I tend to I always actually look for two things when I travel. I look for what's the exercise studio, and then where is my blowout, and usually I focus on those. But one of the things I need to work on is I think when I travel to places where either there isn't a great hotel gym or there isn't a studio that I like, what's another option? Is there an app I can do that's, exercise in the room? Because I think that's one of the tricks for me, besides staying hydrated, that really helps with staying focused and mentally energized, is making sure that I keep my workouts consistent when I'm traveling so much.
I know that staying hydrated is a huge help to just getting rid of jet lag. When your body's, I don't know the exact scientifics, but a lot of the people I've talked to that are fitness people on my show say just staying hydrated, just drinking water, not Coke, not Gatorade.
Not wine, sadly for me. Yes, I drink a lot of water on the road. I still think I could probably be better at that because obviously there's a fair amount of entertaining that goes along with our job. So you're sort of, we're trying to get to net neutral with the hydration. But yeah, I think hydrating and exercise are the two biggest things that I try to focus on. The eating also is, I would say, third for me. That I try to make sure I'm not, that I'm making smart choices. Although I think that's a thing that's hard because you lose control of your food options at some level.
Yeah, that's always the struggle for me. I mean, you're traveling to bigger cities. When I travel, sometimes I'm in towns of 800 people.
Yeah, that's very hard.
And you're like, really? A good, clean diet? Nah, it's not happening. So you just do the best you can.
Yeah, exactly. I used to travel to Greensboro, this was like 6 or 7 years ago, and it was very challenging to find healthy, not fried food.
Yeah.
So I used to actually pack stuff with me, when I could, because it's true. I think if your eating routine is knocked out of whack so much, you just don't perform as well.
Well, yeah, I went. I had a road business trip to Louisiana, and trying Cajun food for the first time. It was overwhelming, the amount of food they served me, and the fried food that I try to avoid when I'm home, and everything else. It was just and then you just feel blah for a couple of hours.
You do. You get tired, even more tired.
So you're traveling 2-3 times a month. It seems like, are they 2-3 day trips, or are you doing weeks, or?
So in August, I have a trip coming up that's basically going to be about a week. So sometimes it's one night, and sometimes it's a week. I had a trip that went from May 31st to June 11th this year. So that was a long trip. Luckily, I love my colleague that I was with the whole time. So at least that made it fun. We planned nights off, quote unquote, even if the night off was randomly a Tuesday, we would try to go do something fun. So it felt like we weren't working the whole 10 days because I think that's important too. But so it really ranges.
What when you're gone, what's the best way for you to try balance your work life? Staying in touch with your friends, your families, loved ones.
So I text a lot. I'm a pretty prolific texter. I don't love FaceTime because I think it's it's so nice to see each other, but it's distracting to have a substantive conversation. So a lot of text, and I, that's one of the things I always have to work on because I actually hate talking on the phone. I think because I have to do it so much at work.
Yep.
So I usually make sure my husband and I will schedule times to talk, or just make sure we're, always talking, or always texting. I think because I'm in the communications industry, I'm a fairly good communicator.
You hope.
So I hope at least, or I probably wouldn't have a company. But yeah, I would say those two things. And then, when I come home, then I always try to make sure I schedule time with my friends or my husband, just to make sure that, again, you're not, because all of a sudden you can wake up and realize it's been a month and you haven't seen any of your friends that actually live in the same city as you.
Yeah. I mean, for me, my travel is, I was gone every day last week. And this week I'll be gone a couple of days. So I really have to go out of my way and go, okay, I know I'm tired from my travel, but I haven't seen my wife in a week, and she hasn't seen me, and she wants to go out to dinner.
Yeah.
Even though I've eaten out every night for 5-6 days straight, I know she wants to go out and have dinner. So.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I definitely have kind of, sometimes all you want to do is sit on the couch, but I think you owe it to your spouse to be present for them too.
Exactly.
The other thing I would say I'm working on is also making sure I carve out alone time, because I think that's really important too. And I think when you're traveling and you come back and you haven't seen your spouse or your friends, it's easy to, deprioritize spending time by yourself because you haven't seen all these people. So that's one of the things I'm really working on, this year, is just making sure that I also have some Megan time.
Megan time. A little Megan time's always good, right?
Yes, it always is.
Do you think being because you're based in New York City, I'm going to assume Manhattan, but it might be one of the other boroughs.
Manhattan. Our offices are in Chelsea.
Do you think because of where you work and spend, I mean, it's hectic in Manhattan for anyone that hasn't visited. It can be. It's busy. So is that part of the alone time where you find it's? I mean, for me, like I can just walk down and I live by the beach, so I'll just go down to the beach and there's my alone time. But
Yeah, if I live by the beach, that would be my preference for alone time all the time. Yeah, I think I'll answer your question in two different ways. I think that's one of the reasons I love to travel, because I think Manhattan is a perfect long distance boyfriend. I think you love leaving it, but you also love coming home to it. Yep. So I think getting like a break from it a little bit, from the energy and the hustle and bustle, is good. But I think there's still ways to carve out balance and quiet time in Manhattan. So I don't think that's necessarily New York City's fault. I think it's more on me. Like okay. For instance, like my husband and I live in the East Village, and on our block, we have 3 parks. So, it's certainly easy enough for me to go sit in a park and like read a book or sit out on our porch and just chill. So I don't think that's necessarily on New York. I think that part is really more on me.
Okay. Well, that's good to take some self-blame. I get you.
Yeah, take some accountability.
Yeah. You sound like a very understanding CEO founder, and I know you have a staff underneath you. And you think? I mean, I've definitely had some CEOs and bosses I've worked for that didn't give a rat's ass about how I felt, what I ate. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's some. I worked for a guy. His nickname around the company was the Angry German.
Oh wow!
And he had to double wall his offices to prevent other people around him hearing him scream.
Wow. Yeah, I'm definitely not a younger.
It seems like I hate to use this word because it sounds cheesy, but I really think business owners have evolved to a large extent to be more understanding and to care about. I mean, even like the company I work for now, they set up a little part of the warehouse for a kettlebell, lunch and all that stuff. It seems like companies are more aware of employee health and mentality.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely try to be. I mean, I know, I think I never like the term work-life balance because I kind of think that doesn't really exist anymore. But I think having work-life presence and being present in whatever mm-hmm. you're doing, and making sure that you're carving out time to do the activities, whatever those are for you that refresh you. Because frankly, if I had a team of 30 now, so if all 29 of my employees never left the office and were working all the time, we wouldn't really have the creativity we need to do this job. We wouldn't have the relationships we need to do this job. So it really doesn't help my bottom line if people are running ragged and overworked and never leaving and not getting their energy gas tank refilled. We close a lot. Like we just closed the whole week of July 4th. We closed 2 weeks over the holidays. We have summer Fridays. We have unlimited vacation. So for me, I try to give everyone time off when everyone else is off so we can all really unplug. I think one of the things that's important in a customer service oriented business like ours is you just have to have a staff that's very accountable for their work so that, we all have the trust that we need to make sure everything's going to get done for our clients, but everyone can do things that they need to do as individuals in their personal life.
And that, my friends, is why she was named 40 under 40. It's so refreshing to hear. Like I said, I've definitely worked for some old school people that didn't believe in any of that. So it's nice to hear.
Thanks. Well, I'm only 39, so I think I'm like technically half a millennial. So I'm sure that's part of it.
So part millennial, part, what is it, Gen X? I'm Gen X.
Yeah, part Gen X.
Okay. I was just watching something on TV last night about Gen X people, and I'm like, I got to watch about myself. I'm like, hey, that's not me. What are you talking about? So when you're traveling, what do you like? You're going to Salt Lake City. That's going to be probably a 3.5-hour flight? 4 hours?
Yep, 3.5-hour flight.
What do you fill your time with? Is it reading, music?
Usually I do work on the planes because it's one of the few times where my texts aren't coming through, my phone isn't ringing, and no one's walking into my office. So it's really like a block of uninterrupted thinking time I have. So I usually try to take like 2 or 3 like thinking pieces of work, especially on long flights like that. If it's so tomorrow, well, tomorrow's not a good example, but on the flights that are like nighttime flights, where like I should be not working anyway, I'll usually do like a little bit of work just to make sure I'm prepped for the next day. But then I love to read. So I'll bring a book to read, or I'll do something that really, or I'll listen to music. I'll do something that really just gives me a chance to kind of wind down a little bit mentally, because that's what I would be doing if I wasn't on the plane at that time.
Smart. Really smart. And I think, God, that's actually very smart, because I think a lot of people will get into a movie or a podcast or something to that effect, and then it kind of throws off your rhythm of what you would typically be doing anyways.
Yep. I totally agree.
I like that. That's what fighters do. I don't know. I mean, mixed martial art fighters, they don't train in the morning because all their fights are at night. So you'll find that they'll do some stuff in the morning, but they're working out at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, because they know when it comes fight time, they want their body on that same rhythm.
Yep, totally.
That's smart. I like that. Anything what's a good travel story for you?
Well, I don't know if this is a good one, but I can give you my most epic travel story.
Epic works.
Epic. So last year, I was flying home from a meeting in Orange County, and I decided to go wild and try to fly from John Wayne instead of driving from LAX, because I had heard from everyone that John Wayne was an easy airport. It was lovely. So I was like, great, I'll avoid LAX. I'll go to John Wayne. I get to John Wayne. I guess I didn't know this, but I guess there's a noise ordinance in Orange County, so the flights can't land past like 9 p.m. Yep. So the plane coming in from New York the night before, I guess, was scheduled to arrive at like 8:30, but got delayed, so it didn't land until 9:15. So it had to be routed to LAX. So because of that, our flight was 4 hours delayed getting out of John Wayne, because I had to get a plane. We get on the plane. By the time we get on the plane, and I'd shown up at the airport at like 6 a.m. So I'm sitting there for like 4 hours, like having woken up at like 5 to get there at 6.
Yeah.
And I had like a super intense meeting the day before, and had a really intense meeting the next day. So like I had to get home. I think it was like a Tuesday. Like I had to get home like on Tuesday to make Wednesday's meeting. So we get on the plane. We take off. The pilot tells us that during our delay, storms have gathered like all across the Midwest. So we actually have to take the long way home by flying like down the coast, across like Texas and Florida, and then like up the East Coast. So we do that. So the flight's like an hour longer than it's supposed to be, which means by the time we're coming up the East Coast, the Midwest storms have moved over the Northeast, and we end up having to circle above DC for like 2 hours until they see if the storms are going to clear. They don't. And at that point, we're running out of fuel, because we've been in the air for like 7.5 hours on what was supposed to be like a 4.5-hour flight.
Yeah.
And we have to do like an emergency landing in Norfolk, Virginia. So we land. They pull into the gate. And again, I'm like a seasoned traveler, so I kind of like, I see all this stuff going on, and I'm like, this is not good. They actually pull us into a gate, and they open up the door, and they let everyone, like, if you want, you can get off and on the plane, because like we've been on the plane so long. And I'm like, this is not a good sign. So I emailed, we have a car service we use, so I email the car service, and I'm like, hey, Lance, like, what are you seeing in terms of our like takeoff time? Because during this time, also all the Newark flights have been grounded.
Yeah.
So no one was taking off or taking into Newark at this time. I'm like, what are you seeing? And he's like, well, it looks like, at this point it was like 6 p.m. And so I had been almost up for like 12 hours at this point. And Lance is like, look, you're scheduled to take off right now in about 2.5 hours. But he was like, I would go suss it out with the flight crew, because they've been, like, your flight was supposed to take off at 6 a.m. So he's like, they're getting to their clock out time, like their mandatory clock out time. And then you're going to get canceled. And so I'm like, shoot. So I like casually roll up to like the front of the plane, and I'm like, hey, chatting with the flight attendant. I'm like, so like, what's the deal with this? And then she lets it slip that Lance is right, and they're going to have to like clock out pretty soon. So I get my bag at that point, and I'm like, screw it. I'm just going to get an Uber to DC, and I'll spend the night in DC, and then I can take a train. I'll just wake up early and take the train back, and I'll make my meeting, and it'll be fine. So I get off the plane. I also check with all the other. I'm like, does anyone want to Uber with me? Because like the plane is not taking off. And everyone's like, no, we're good. We're gonna risk it. I'm like, fine. So I get this lovely Uber driver, this poor man, who we start driving to DC, and which is like a 2.5-hour drive. And as we're driving to DC, I'm searching, and there are no open hotels, like zero, because apparently there was a sporting event at the Staples Center and some other event happening like at the Washington Monument. So like every hotel was booked. So I say to the Uber driver, I'm like, I know this is like a massive change in destination, but would you be willing to drive me home to New York City?
Oh.
And he was like, yeah, I'll do it. And so we ended up driving, like I think it took us like 8 hours to drive home, and I walked into my apartment at 3:30 a.m. in the morning, slept for, I think I slept till about 10, got up and showered, and then went to my meeting.
And
that was my epic travel story.
You had to be sparkly too. That's awesome.
It was I got major street cred from the client that day.
Exactly, because most people would have just said, "Hey, I'm gonna stay here, cancel the meeting."
Yep, yeah. had to go back. So I had to get there.
Couldn't make it. Hey, if you ever go to John Wayne Airport again, and you pick up your bags, that's where they filmed Jerry Maguire.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't realize that. I don't know. Honestly, Pete, I think John Wayne, I have PTSD. I don't think I'm ever, because if I had gone to LAX, like I originally wanted to do, I would have been home at like 2 p.m. and it would have been fine. I would have completely missed all the shenanigans.
So you're going to blame John Wayne Airport for?
Yeah, so I'm going to blame John. Every time John Wayne Airport comes up now, I'm just like, nope, not
That's not going to happen. I got you. Well, I have to, if you ever come out to LA, how much time do you spend out in LA when you come out here?
A fair amount of time, usually a couple of days, because there's a lot of people to see out in LA.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that's, I saw that you worked with Kourtney Kardashian on one of your things.
Yes, we did a few years ago.
Yeah,
I've actually worked with almost all of the Kardashians.
Which one haven't you?
I haven't worked with Kylie or Kendall.
Okay. My daughter's last internship while she was in college was with Kim.
Oh, Kim is so nice. She's the first one I worked with. She was awesome.
Yeah, and that's, my daughter said the same thing. She worked so I actually saved money because my daughter didn't have to take an extra class her last semester, because she got college credit for working for Kim.
Yeah.
And then when she graduated, she couldn't be an intern anymore, but Kim's people called her up, and then she asked her if she was still looking for a job. She said yes. So she worked for Chloe for a year and a half.
Oh, nice. Chloe's really nice too.
Yeah, as her PA. And then now she's moved on and doing some other stuff. But
that was probably a really great experience for her.
My daughter, I could live vicariously through her. Her first job out of high school was working for Jared Leto, the actor and singer, because that was her favorite band when she was in high school. And they put on their Facebook page that they're looking for a college intern. And she comes up to me. She hadn't had a job. And she goes, do you think I should apply? I go, yeah. I go, why not? I go, worst case scenario, you got to tell your friends you applied for a job with Jared. And then she applied, and like a week later or whatever, they called her back. Hey, they want me to interview. Do you think I should go? I'm like, well, yeah. Worst case scenario, you get to say you interviewed at his office and all that. She got the job, so she worked there for a year. Worked on their social media stuff because he has a couple different companies. And then she actually went on tour with when they opened up for Lincoln Park. And
cool.
She handled the social media posts while they were on tour and all that. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, so her references are Jared Leto, Kim Kardashian, and Chloe.
Yeah, those references do not suck.
I'm like, yeah, it's not too many early 20-year-olds that are working with that.
No, definitely not.
And just all because she just applied, and that's literally one of the big reasons why I started my podcast.
Oh, really?
I'm like, because I'm the one that told her to do this and this and this, and then so when I started thinking about the podcast, she was looking at me like, hold on a sec. my whole life he said, "What's the worst thing that happened? Why not?" You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
and here you are hedging, hemming and hawing about starting a podcast. I'm like, oh God damn it, I guess I got to do it then. And here we are, a year plus later, talking to Megan Driscoll.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's kind of got a.
Well, I'm definitely not on the level of Jared Leto or the Kardashians. So I think you still have a couple levels up to get.
Well, but I'm getting there.
Yeah, for sure.
Getting there. Now, it's kind of the parents telling the kids to try things, and then, I think at some point the parents kind of give up on their own thing.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. My mom actually works in the office with us. She started with us in May of 2016, and she's definitely been exposed to a lot of things working here, and also she's helped the team too, especially the women who this is their first job out of college.
Yeah.
She's kind of helped them with some life things too. So it's been nice to see that.
It's a good balance. I mean, and that's, like my daughter, who's helped me with my website. She's helped me with my social media, because that's kind of her thing in her area. She's definitely helped out. And now, she can't say, well, you didn't do it. I said, well, it's all good together. So, what's the best way for my listeners to reach out and stay in touch with you and follow what you're doing and what the company's doing?
I would say, our website is EvolveMKD.com. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and LinkedIn. It's just EvolveMKD. And then for me, my Twitter handle is MK Driscoll, or my Instagram handle is Megan K. Craig, which is my married name. So any of those are the best way to get information.
Yeah, and I'll definitely put those on my website and put links over just so they can easily find you.
That'd be awesome.
I truly appreciate the time. I know you're getting ready to bounce out of there. So, again, thank you so much for the time.
Of course.
And
thank you so much. It was wonderful talking to you.
Have a good week, and have fun in Salt Lake City.
Thanks. I'll try.
All right. Talk to you soon, Megan. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.